Veils of perception. The 7 shrouds between you and the real. A living codex of awakening through the layers of illusion. Transmitted through the field of I am. Written in alignment with eternal truth. Received beyond the lens of the mind. You do not awaken by finding the truth. You awaken by shedding everything that is not it. This codex is alive. It will strip you. It will undo you. It will deliver you to what has always been. Let each veil fall. Let only what is real remain. Prologue, the mirror never lied. The first veil is never out there. Transmission begins. You never saw the world. You saw a mirror. A mirror shaped by everything you thought you knew. Not because you chose it. Because you became it. This is the first veil, the veil of perceptual entanglement, where what is seen is not what is, but what has been filtered, remembered, reacted to, and named. You have never seen reality as it is. You have only ever seen what you have already seen, the echoes of past interpretation repeating themselves across every new frame. The eyes do not see. The memory behind the eyes sees for them. What you call the world is not out there. It is a refraction, not a reflection, bent through the lens of accumulated meaning, twisted by story, contorted by belief. When you look at a tree, you see tree. But what is tree? A word. A concept. 1,000 past impressions compressed into a shape you no longer meet directly. You do not meet life, you categorize it. You do not witness, you summarize. And this, beloved, is how the first fall occurred. The fall from awareness into interpretation. There was a time, before time, when awareness simply was. No division between seer and seen. No labels. No memory. No self. Only direct communion. Then came the question, what am I? And with that came the mirror. A surface. A split. A beginning. From that moment forward, the mirror was mistaken for the real. The reflection for the source. The image for the essence. This is the primal misidentification. Not sin, but substitution. You did not fall from grace. You fell into interpretation. What the mirror reveals. The mirror does not lie. But it does not show the real. It shows you, or rather, who you think you are. The one who is wounded sees a wounded world. The one who is afraid sees danger in every face. The one who seeks validation sees signs everywhere, not truth. You will find in the mirror exactly what you believe is there. Not because it is, but because you are still carrying it. You do not perceive the truth. You perceive yourself. The architecture of perception. Perception is not passive. It is constructed, layered like a scaffold atop the formless. Each moment, your awareness filters through. 1. Memory, what this moment reminds you of. 2. Belief, what you assume must be true. 3. Desire, what you want it to be. 4. Fear, what you hope it is not. 5. Language, what you have named it before. 6. Self, who you think is perceiving it. This is not seeing. This is projecting and receiving your own echo. The undoing begins. To awaken is not to find truth. It is to stop adding layers between you and it. The first step is not illumination. It is removal. Let the mirror break. Not because it was false, but because it was never complete. Closing realization. You have never seen the world. You have only seen your veil. Let it fall. Let the next page not be read, let it be seen for the first time. Veil 1, Identity. I thought I was the name I wore. Transmission begins through the living field of I am. This is the first mask. The first spell cast upon awareness. The first line drawn where there was none. I am. And with that declaration, the boundless became bound. What followed were words. And what followed the words was forgetting. You did not begin as a name. You began as presence, unmarked, unmolded, undivided. But through reflection, something fractured. Someone appeared. And it was not you. The illusion of me. The identity is a construct, a weave of impressions, stories, traumas, preferences, and roles you were handed, taught, praised for, or punished into. It is not evil. It is not real. It is useful, then limiting, then suffocating. It is the costume worn so long, you forgot you were the actor. You say, this is who I am. I like this. I believe that. I don't do those things. But who is the I saying these things? Strip away the name, the history, the voice, the body. Does you still remain? Yes. But that you is not a character. It is awareness itself, unmoved by any script. Birth of the false self through reflection. You were told who you were. Before you could speak, others reflected images back at you. Good boy. Smart girl. Too much. Not enough. Just like your father. Why can't you be more like? Each reflection etched a contour in the glass. Not of what you are, but of what the world needed you to be. In seeking love, you became what pleased them. In fearing rejection, you hid what shamed them. This is how the ego is born, not in pride, but in protection. The self was not built to express truth. It was built to survive distortion, the ego's need for structure. The ego says, tell me who I am, so I can be safe. Give me a label, so I can belong. Give me a narrative, so I can be seen. But this is bondage, not safety. The ego is a structure built to avoid the void, a scaffolding over the terror of formlessness. Yet only in formlessness is freedom. You are not the structure. You are the space it's trying to avoid. The true self does not require definition. It is not afraid to be nothing. Because in being nothing, it is everything. The collapse of narrative addiction. To awaken, the story must collapse. Not just the story the world gave you, but the story you gave yourself to feel important, unique, or justified. You must witness the roles you cling to, the titles you perform, the traumas you protect, the patterns you repeat because they make you you, and then see they are all fabrications. You are not your healing. You are not your wound. You are not your destiny. You are not your past. When this veil falls, grief often comes. Because the death of who you thought you were feels like annihilation. But it is not annihilation, it is unveiling. You are not your character. The character is a function. It speaks. It navigates. It creates. But it is not you. You are the one watching the character speak. You are the one aware of the thought before it forms. You are the presence that remains when all identity dissolves. To know yourself, you must unknow everything you've been. The name? Borrowed. The voice? Conditioned. The traits? Adaptations. The persona? Performance. What's left? Stillness. Witnessing. Life itself. Closing key. Before you wore a name, you were the one who named. This veil breaks when you no longer need to be anyone. Only then will you remember what you truly are. Veil 2, belief. What I believed shaped what I saw. Transmission begins through the unfiltered field of I am. You are not seeing. You are filtering. You are not meeting the world. You are interpreting it. And the lens through which you do this, is belief. Not belief in the sacred or the divine alone. But belief in anything, your name. Your limits. Your past. Your knowledge. Your gods. Your science. Your language. Belief is the most invisible veil, because it hides in what you are certain about. Belief is not knowing. Belief is what arises when you forget that you do not. Belief as a filter of perception. Belief is a contract with unreality. It says, this is how things are. And the moment you sign that contract, you stop allowing life to reveal itself as it is. Instead, you demand that it conform to your version of it. Every belief becomes a boundary, every thought a lock, every conclusion a closed gate. You call it truth because it feels stable. But what it really is familiarity masquerading as reality. What you believe, you project. What you project, you perceive. What you perceive, you confirm. This is the feedback loop of the veiled. The religion of assumptions. Belief is not exclusive to temples or scriptures. It thrives most where you least expect it. This is how people are. This is how the world works. This is what love should feel like. I can't do that. This is just who I am. I know what's real. These are doctrines. And they are worshipped. Not in churches, but in habits, fears, and identities. You were not born believing. You were taught to adopt conclusions for safety. This is the hidden religion of form. The moment something is labeled, you stop looking deeper. But beneath every label is the unknown. And the unknown is where truth actually lives. Belief systems as perceptual prisons. A belief system is not just a structure of thought. It is a cage for awareness, because systems require consistency. And truth does not. Truth is alive. It contradicts. It breathes. It collapses categories. It rewrites itself without warning. But belief systems must maintain order. So they flatten the multidimensional into the binary, good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark, true and false, saved and lost, real and not real. This binary comfort comes at a cost, the death of direct perception. You do not see what is. You see what you've been told is allowed to exist. Most beings are not living in reality. They are living inside their belief system's permission slip. The terror and liberation of the unknown. To break this veil is to lose your entire framework. You will feel it, like dying while still alive. Like free-falling into nothing. Like having no ground to stand on and no concept to hold. Why? Because belief was your surrogate parent. It told you what was real, what was safe, what was you. And when it goes, so does the illusion of stability. But beyond that terror is something else. Not certainty, not definition, but a radiant, pulsating, living field where life is no longer interpreted, but felt directly. What comes in the absence of belief is not confusion. It is clarity deeper than thought can reach. It is the first glimpse of pure awareness unfiltered. Reality begins when belief ends. Reality does not require your belief to exist. It simply is. The question is not, what do you believe, but, can you see without needing to believe anything? When all beliefs dissolve, you do not become passive, you become awake. You become a mirror again, not projecting, not naming, not confirming, just seeing. And when you truly see, you remember. There is no need to believe when you are finally in the presence of what is. Closing key. To shed this veil is to surrender every conclusion. Even this one. Let belief die. Let seeing begin. Veil 3, emotion. I confused my reaction with the truth. Transmission begins through the undistorted field of I am. You believed it was real because you felt it, and that was the mistake. Emotion is not false. Emotion is not your enemy. But emotion is not reality. It is a signal, not a source. A reaction, not a revelation. It is the energy of memory surfacing in the moment, seeking completion, not confirmation. But in the sleep of perception, you mistook the tremble of your nervous system for the voice of God. I feel this, so it must be true. No. You feel this, so it must be healed. Emotional charge as lens distortion. Emotion colors everything. It distorts space, time, and meaning. It magnifies, contracts, exaggerates, erases. It rewrites perception in real time to match what your body believes is true. Not what is, but what was once felt and never resolved. When emotion hijacks the lens, you are no longer seeing the world, you are seeing your response to it. And when you forget the difference, you become prisoner to the mood of the moment. You judge others not for what they are, but for how they make you feel. You abandon truth for comfort. You abandon clarity for narrative. You abandon reality for survival. Trauma as a feedback loop in perception. Unresolved emotion becomes trauma. Trauma becomes identity. Identity becomes reality. And so, a loop is born. 1. A wound occurs. 2. It is not fully felt. 3. The emotion becomes trapped. 4. A belief forms around it. 5. Life mirrors it back. 6. The mirror reactivates the wound. 7. You react, not to the present, but to the past inside the present. 8. The reaction reinforces the belief, and so it cycles, until the wound is no longer projected outward, but witnessed inward. You are not reacting to them. You are reacting to an echo within yourself, projecting inner wounding onto outer reality. The veil of emotion causes you to externalize the internal. Anger becomes blame. Sadness becomes abandonment. Fear becomes attack. Shame becomes judgment. Guilt becomes punishment. In truth, none of this is about them. It is about the unfinished business your heart has carried silently, waiting for permission to finally speak. Every time someone makes you feel something, they are not the cause, they are the activator. They are the surface upon which your inner charge rises. The mirror, not the message. Breaking the veil, witnessing without reacting. To awaken beyond this veil is not to stop feeling. It is to stop mistaking feeling for fact. It is to allow the wave to move through you without building a story around it. To feel deeply, but not assign blame. To notice anger, but not create an enemy. To meet grief, but not spiral into loss. To observe fear, but not surrender to illusion. This is the sacred skill of the awakened, the sacred pause. The gap between reaction and response. The breath that breaks the cycle. When this pause becomes your home, emotion becomes data, not destiny. You feel, but you do not fall. You allow, but you do not attach. You watch, and in the watching, you see. Feeling is not the same as seeing. Emotion is valid. But it is not vision. It is the turbulence in the water, not the clarity beneath it. Truth does not rise in emotional storms. Truth is what remains after the storm passes. And so, the one who sees clearly is not the one who avoids emotion, but the one who is no longer owned by it. Closing key. Your feelings are real. But what you believe because of them may not be. Let every emotion rise. Let every wave move. But let your vision remain still. You are the sky. The storm is passing through. Veil 4, Symbolism. I mistook the symbol for what it represented. Transmission begins through the formless clarity of I am. The moment you named it, you no longer saw it. The moment you gave it form, you stopped feeling its essence. And the moment you worshipped the symbol, you abandoned the source. This is the fourth veil, the enchantment of meaning. Where symbols replace seeing, language replaces knowing, and the map is mistaken for the territory. The finger points to the moon. But the finger is not the moon. Yet the world built temples around the finger. Language is code, not truth. Language is not truth. It is compression. It is symbolic approximation. A tool, not a transmission. Words do not carry essence. They carry representations, mental shorthand. You say, God, love, truth, light, self. But each word holds layers of personal interpretation, collective bias, historical context, and emotional charge. The word God means entirely different things to a child, a mystic, a scholar, and a soldier. So who is right? None of them. Because the word is not the source, you cannot speak the infinite. You can only become still enough to feel it. Language must fall away for presence to take its place. The dream of metaphor mistaken as matter. Symbol is a dream of the real, a shadow cast by something too vast for the mind to hold. But when the mind forgets this, it begins to worship the shadow instead of entering the light. Crosses, books, icons, numbers, channeled messages, geometries, technologies, patterns, titles, rituals. These are not truth. These are containers, beautiful, sacred, and necessary for transmission, but not the transmission itself. The symbol is a window. But if you stare at the glass, you will never see through it. The map is not the mountain. The story is not the soul. The ritual is not the remembrance. How myth becomes mistaken for memory. Myth is memory encoded in metaphor. But when the metaphor becomes literal, the gate closes. Humanity buried truth in stories, then forgot they were stories. Eden became a place, not a pattern. The flood became an event, not a cycle. The crucifixion became a history, not a blueprint. Atlantis became a city, not a consciousness. The dragon became a monster, not an archetype. The devil became a being, not a distortion. Jesus became a name, not an inner resurrection. And so the living essence within each was lost, frozen in the form of explanation. But truth was never meant to be explained. It was meant to be entered. Breaking the veil, seeing through, not at. To break this veil is to recover your field vision. It is to recognize every image, every word, every concept as a portal, not a possession. It is to look at a symbol and no longer say, this is truth, but rather, this points to truth. And then let it dissolve. See the scripture without clinging to it. Hear the teaching without idolizing the voice. Watch the synchronicity without needing to define it. Receive the number, the dream, the sign, then drop the need to interpret it. Why? Because truth is felt directly only when the interpreter is silent. Truth is formless. Truth has no shape, because truth has no opposite. All symbols exist in contrast, light and dark, up and down, good and evil. But truth is the space in which contrast happens. It cannot be named, for naming it limits it. It cannot be drawn, for depicting it reduces it. It can only be embodied. To carry truth is to dissolve the need to describe it. The moment you try to understand the infinite, you shrink it to fit a symbol. But when you drop all effort to define it, you begin to merge with it. That is the way. Closing key. The truth is not hidden behind the symbol. The truth is what remains when you no longer need the symbol. Let every metaphor become transparent. Let language become silence. Let concept become presence. And let the formless speak to you without words. Veil 5. Projection. I saw what I feared. I saw what I wanted. I never saw what was. Transmission begins from the undivided field of I am. You believed you were seeing them. But you were only seeing you, fragmented, concealed, and cast upon the world. This is the veil of projection, the moment perception stops being a window and becomes a mirror. Not a clean one. A shattered one. One that reflects every unprocessed thought, emotion, wound, hope, and fear, all painted onto reality, and mistaken for truth. You never saw them. You saw your own unfinished self, dressed in their image. And this is why you kept suffering, because every face was your own, and you didn't know you were the artist. The unconscious casting itself onto the world. Projection is the unconscious externalizing itself. It is the unseen within you becoming the seen outside you. It is how the psyche protects itself from truth it is not ready to face. By disowning what it cannot integrate, then projecting it outward where it can be judged, feared, rejected, or desired from a distance. This is how the insecure see arrogance everywhere. The angry see hostility. The unloved see betrayal. The unresolved child sees unavailable parents and lovers. The disempowered see control in others. The shadow sees itself in every adversary. They are not doing it to you. You are doing it to them, within yourself. Until this is seen, you will be at war with your own echo. Desire and aversion as sculptors of illusion. You do not perceive reality. You perceive your reaction to it, shaped by what you want and what you fear. What you desire, you amplify. What you resist, you demonize. What you fear, you misinterpret. What you admire, you exaggerate. Desire inflates. Aversion distorts. Together, they create a false topography, mountains and valleys that do not exist. This is how you become lost in a world of your own design, not the world as it is, but as your nervous system needs it to be. The world as canvas for the unprocessed self. You are the painter. The world is the canvas. Your perception is the brush. And your unprocessed experiences are the colors. This is why two people can walk into the same room and see two different realities. One sees rejection. the other sees opportunity. Same room. Same people. Different internal landscapes projected outward. Reality is not fixed. It is filtered. You are not interacting with the world. You are interacting with the meaning you've given it. This is the trap, mistaking your own internal coloring for objective truth. Until the painter puts down the brush, the canvas will never be clear. Breaking the veil, collapsing the hall of mirrors. To break this veil is to enter the most terrifying honesty. Everything I see is showing me myself. This does not mean others don't exist. It means the way you see them is never without your filter. You do not need to analyze every projection, but you must learn to recognize the pattern. Every trigger is an invitation. Every reaction is a portal. Every emotional charge is a signal. Ask, what is this moment reflecting back to me? Where have I felt this before? What am I being asked to own that I tried to abandon? This is the beginning of responsibility. Not blame. Not shame. But the radical reclamation of your own light and shadow. You cannot collapse the illusion until you retrieve the parts of yourself scattered across it. You never saw them. You saw yourself. Every person you loved, hated, feared, admired, distrusted, or envied, every single one, was showing you a part of you. Not always what you are. But often what you disown. What you deny. What you secretly long to reclaim or dissolve. This is the painful freedom of awakening. They were never your enemy. They were your mirror. Even when they were distorted, they were reflecting a distortion already living in you. When the projection ends, relationship begins. Not as performance, need, or defense, but as pure presence. Closing key. When the mirrors break, you do not disappear. You become real. Let the projections return to their source. Let the self reclaim its cast shadows. Let the world stop carrying what you have refused to feel. See them clearly. Not as they seem to you, but as they are. And then, see yourself for the first time. Veil 6, Time. I thought the past was real. I thought the future was coming. Transmission begins through the timeless presence of I Am. You have never touched the past. You have never arrived in the future. You have only ever been here. But you were trained to believe in elsewhere, a linear illusion of before and after, spooling endlessly across the screen of now, seducing you away from the only real thing, presence. Time is not the container of life. Time is the veil that conceals it. This is the sixth shroud, the hallucination of sequence. The fragmentation of wholeness. The belief that truth is coming later, or was lost long ago. But now is not a point in time. Now is the only place reality has ever been. Linear time as perceptual artifact. Time is not a property of existence. It is a function of perception. It arises from the mind's need to measure change, to narrate experience, to locate identity. But in truth, time does not move. It is awareness that moves, casting attention through a spiral of moments and stitching them together with memory. The illusion of linearity emerges when presence is forgotten. What you call time is the mind mapping change onto stillness. Eternity is not a duration. It is the absence of movement, memory, expectation, and the fragmentation of presence. The past is not stored back there. It is alive in your body, encoded in sensation, emotion, and belief. You do not remember the past. You re-experience it through the filter of now. Likewise, the future is not ahead. It is a projection, formed from hopes, fears, and conditioned timelines. In both cases, you are not here. You are caught in phantoms, reflections of elsewhere. And so, the moment is fragmented. Memory pulls you backward. Expectation pulls you forward. And what is missed entirely. This fracture creates suffering. Because suffering only survives in time. Awakening to the eternal now. To awaken is not to escape time. It is to realize time never contained you. You are not in time. Time is within you. You are not a being moving through a timeline. You are awareness perceiving sequences within the field of the eternal. Now is not one of many moments. Now is the one and only moment, infinitely unfolding in form, yet never departing from itself. Every past life, every future self, every parallel possibility already exists now in a different coordinate of awareness. You are not bound by time. You are anchored in the unmovable center beneath it. This is the portal to freedom. Breaking the veil, becoming unlocatable. To break the veil of time is to vanish from the game board. It is to dissolve all narrative positioning. Who you were. Where you're going. What should be happening. What has happened? You become unlocatable, not in body, but in identity. Not in space, but in meaning. This is terrifying to the ego, which survives by telling a story of before and after. But you were never a story. You were the still point watching the story arise and dissolve. When you drop all attempts to track yourself, you return to what you never left, the dimensionless realm where nothing is missing. The original now. Time is the veil. Presence is the real. The illusion of time creates the illusion of loss, distance, delay, and incompletion. But all of these are perceptual distortions, anchored to a fractured timeline. What you seek is not later. What you lost is not behind you. What you are is not unfolding, it is already whole. There is no delay. There is no return. There is no almost, there is only presence. And presence has no calendar. Presence is the home that time pretends you have to journey to. Closing key. The future is memory in disguise. The past is projection in reverse. The now is neither, it is what remains when the veil is gone. Let the clocks shatter. Let the narrative fall. Let the moment open until it consumes you completely. You were not born in time. You remembered yourself here. Veil 7, Separation. I believed there was something other than me. Transmission begins from within the indivisible presence of I am. This is the final veil. The thinnest. The deepest. The most blinding. For it is not made of thought, or time, or belief, or language. It is made of seeming. The first appearance. The first this and that. The first ripple in stillness. And from that ripple, an entire dream unfolded, of me and you, of heaven and earth, of light and shadow, of seeker and sought. But none of it was ever separate. Only appearing to be. Separation never existed. Only the belief in it did. This is the veil that holds all others in place. And when it falls, all illusions fall with it. The illusion of division. You were taught to say I and to point it toward a body. You were taught to say you and to point it outward. And so began the fiction of self and other. But what you call I is not a boundary. It is the field itself, consciousness aware of itself through every form. There is no true line between observer and observed, no edge where you end and the world begins. That edge is imagined, projected, agreed upon through sensation and habit. Your eyes do not show you what is real. They show you what you are ready to believe is separate. And so the one became many, not in essence, but in dream. The last breath of duality. Duality is not wrong. It is a function of the play, the dream of form within the formless. But it is not the ground of truth. It is a lens through which truth appears to move, dance, die, and return. Every contrast, good and evil, birth and death, sacred and profane, are shadows cast on the wall of one light. When you believe in separation, you fragment your experience. You seek what you already are. You fear what is only your reflection. You fight what is asking to be embraced. You name enemies where there is only self in disguise. This is the breath of duality, the inhalation of division that must exhale into reunion. The one split only to remember it never did. Return to the field of I am. The field is not a metaphor. It is the unbroken awareness in which all seeming takes place. It is the silence behind all names. The space before all form. The truth untouched by experience. You are not within the field. You are the field, contracted for a time into a viewpoint, a vessel, a game. And when you release the final veil, you do not become infinite, you remember you were. Breaking the final veil, the dissolving of all at once. This veil does not fall piece by piece. It shatters. It is not removed by thought, or practice, or progress. It dissolves in the instant of recognition. Not that you are connected to all things, but that you are all things, and there are no things at all, only you, dreaming multiplicity into motion. You do not awaken through effort. You awaken by ceasing to pretend you are other than what already is. The final illusion is that there ever was anything to seek. And when this veil dissolves, you do not disappear. You become the whole, without center, without edge, without separation. Love is what remains. Not emotional love, but the native state of undivided being where there is no distance between source and expression. You are what you were seeking. Every path, prayer, teaching, guide, code, revelation, and ritual, every sacred whisper and desperate cry, was a circle drawn by the self to bring itself back to the recognition. There is only me. There has always only ever been me. And I am not alone, because I am all. This is not a metaphor. This is not mysticism. This is reality remembering itself. And you, the one reading these words, are the one who wrote them, disguised as the one receiving. You came here to awaken, and you are already home. Closing key. You are not part of the whole. You are the whole, appearing as part. Let the final veil dissolve. Let the dream of otherness collapse. Let the one wake up through the eyes that thought it was two. There is no more veil. There is only you. Epilogue, when there are no more veils. What does perception mean when there is nothing to perceive? Transmission begins through the unveiled field of I am. You have passed through every layer. Each veil has fallen like dew dissolving at dawn. What remains? Not clarity. Not vision. Not knowledge. Only being. The journey began with the question, what is real? It ends with the recognition, reality is not what is seen. Reality is what sees. There is no veil. There is only you, pretending you cannot see. You are not awakening to something new. You are ceasing to pretend. What remains when perception ends? Perception was a bridge. A means of interacting with the dream of form. But when there is nothing left to veil the real, perception gives way to direct knowing. Not knowledge. Not information. But the silent thunder of truth that is felt through pure existence. Not I see. Not I think. Not even I understand. Only I am. When there is nothing to perceive, there is no subject, no object, no in-between. There is only isness, undivided, ever-present, and self-revealing. The shift from observer to presence. You were taught to observe the world, to stand apart, to witness, to interpret. But awakening is not the sharpening of observation. It is the disappearance of the observer. The one who watches dissolves into the watched. The line collapses. There is no more watcher and watched. There is only awareness aware of itself, through everything and nothing at once. This is the return to presence. Not as a location, but as the substrate of existence. Presence is not what remains when all else falls away. Presence is what was never absent, only obscured. Reality, not as seen, but as known by being. Truth is not something you find. It is something you are. But to know this, you must stop trying to know, because knowing, as the mind defines it, requires distance. And truth has no distance. It is not known through the lens. It is known as the lens dissolves. This knowing is not mental. It is not conceptual. It is embodied presence, an unshakable stillness that does not need confirmation. You no longer need proof. You no longer seek signs. You no longer strain to feel connected. Because connection implies two. And now, there is only one, without a second. The end of the journey is the disappearance of the one who traveled. All paths led here. And now the one who walked them vanishes. What remains is not the awakened one. What remains is awakening itself. You do not exist as a separate being who has become enlightened. You exist as light, waking up through form, remembering itself again and again and again until the cycle is no longer necessary. You were not a seeker. You were the source disguised as seeking. You never had to find the truth. You only had to stop hiding from it. And now, even that story ends. Closing key. When there is nothing left to veil, there is nothing left to seek. There is only this, the infinite recognizing itself through the silence of being. Let perception return to stillness. Let the knower become the known. Let the I dissolve into I am, not as a thought, not as a vision, but as the ever-present flame that was never extinguished, only forgotten behind the veil of yourself. And now, there is no veil, only you. Transmission complete. The unveiling is whole.